now we'll see Randy Orton versus Mark Henry. We knew Randy Orton was going to be having a challenger for the world title, given the fact that Randy Orton is on the poster for the Night of Champions pay-per-view, so that's interesting in itself. But with Randy Orton having this DVD, Evolution of a Predator, finally being released this week, I'm expecting Randy Orton to get over as the world champion in this match with Mark Henry, and get over as world champion for probably 3 to 4 months before Randy Orton has the world title taken off him. I think that Christian's push for the world title has kind of had its final nail driven into its coffin, so we're not going to be seeing Christian versus Randy Orton anymore. I think they said on the Super Show that the matches between Randy Orton and Christian actually have gone 6 or 7 matches now. So I'm not expecting another Christian Randy Orton match. If we do see Christian go up against Randy Orton anytime soon, it's going to be just to hype up a match that Randy Orton's going to be working against someone at a pay-per-view, and Randy Orton's going to make Christian look like absolute crap. The next program I see Christian working in is some kind of program with Edge, given the fact that they're working on Edge Appreciation Night and building up to Edge Appreciation Night on September 13th in Toronto, when Edge will make his first appearance since announcing his retirement. Something inside of me is telling me that Edge is going to be making a return to the ring now to work against Christian, or work against Christian in some form. So that's the next program I see Christian in. Christian and Daniel Bryan a few weeks ago was a great match. Something that also came out of this Super Show was the heel turn of Sin Cara, which ProWrestling.com was hinting on for several weeks. It makes no sense to me why they turned Sin Cara heel. He's that popular over in Mexico. He has his own comic book, and he has so much going for him right now as a face. It seemed like the fans were really getting behind him. I think that they made the heel turn of Sin Cara so soon, a little bit too soon. I mean, it's only been, 4 months after WrestleMania. They brought him in a few weeks after WrestleMania, and already they're turning him heel. Him and Daniel Bryan worked a match, and where the hell was Alberto Del Rio in all this when Alberto Del Rio was supposed to have went up against Sin Cara? Is he in some kind of hot water now where he's not going to be on WWE television for a while? Is he just bored of being on television now for several months and taking a break? But it's kind of weird how your WWE champion isn't on either show, isn't on Raw or SmackDown. It's kind of weird how he's supposed to be the WWE champion and he's not there, especially with this John Cena Alberto Del Rio match happening at Night of Champions, and that's supposed to be your main event. It made no sense to me how he wasn't there, and then all of a sudden, after having the Sin Cara Alberto Del Rio match hyped up, they canceled that, and then all of a sudden Sin Cara turns heel. In a match against Daniel Bryan, which we've seen done before. It made no sense to me. The ring announcer of Alberto Del Rio coming out, and then he telling John Cena how Alberto Del Rio couldn't be there. It's crazy. So we're waiting on Alberto Del Rio to return now. Obviously, he'll return now on this week's Raw. Obviously, that's where I'm thinking he's going to return, or he might not even return until Night of Champions when he's supposed to face John Cena. Obviously, he will be at the pay-per-view because it's a paid-for event by the viewer. So he's going to have to make a pay-per-view appearance, but it's kind of weird. I'm assuming he's going to turn up at the whole Night of Champions pay-per-view. I'm assuming he's going to turn up at Raw, but it's kind of weird how he wasn't there, and that's something that I took from that. It's kind of weird. That's something I noticed, and they never even made acknowledgement of Alberto Del Rio and where he was. They could have at least said, we hyped up this Sin Cara match, but because of an injury that Alberto Del Rio has, or a flight delay or something, they could have said that, although they send Ricardo Rodriguez out and he just gets punched in the face by John Cena in like a 2-minute promo at the beginning of the SmackDown Super Show on Tuesday night. John Cena gets over on Wade Barrett. I thought that was pretty effectively done, but it was kind of weird how he wasn't there. And then Dolph Ziggler and Randy Orton and John Cena and Wade Barrett have to make up for things that were promoted for these SmackDown shows, and they didn't take place. I would have loved to have seen Alberto Del Rio and Sin Cara go one-on-one in the match that was originally scheduled to happen. Instead, they have Sin Cara turn heel, which made absolutely no sense to me. They were hyping up the Great Khali versus CM Punk, and they turned that around. They had this amazing contract signing. A lot of stuff was canceled that was originally promoted for this Super Show, so it's kind of dumb how they were promoting all this all week, and then they just changed it around. It was kind of weird. Tell us what you think at Facebook.com, Jonathan Clarke, of everything that happened at this Super Show. Something that I took notice of was the fact that Alberto Del Rio wasn't there on both Super Shows. The best matches of these Super Shows was either, for me, The Miz and CM Punk, or Dolph Ziggler and Randy Orton. I enjoyed the cage match with Christian, although I knew this was going to be the final nail in the Christian-Randy Orton feud. It was probably one of the best feuds we've seen on SmackDown in probably the last 8 months. It was correct how they said, they had 6 or 7 matches, something like that. The Christian-Randy Orton program was definitely prolonged, but it was for good reason, because they were hyping up this Edge return. I felt that it was pretty effective how, Edge dealt with Christian at SummerSlam, and obviously hinted that Edge and Christian were going to be having this program. But it's kind of weird how everything panned out at the Super Show the way that it did. Like I said, Alberto Del Rio, where the hell was he? The Divas had a huge role at the Super Shows. They were involved with both Super Shows. Kelly working a lot here recently, being booked in a lot of matches, and she's at least starting to lose. That's something that I took note of at these Super Shows. Kelly at least starting to lose matches now after winning every match she's been booked in. But it's kind of weird how Alberto Del Rio was nowhere to be seen. You have these Super Shows, and the World Champion is the one that's being booked in the matches and having to pick up where Alberto Del Rio is dropping the ball. If you ask me, it's kind of stupid how you're hyping up for this John Cena Alberto Del Rio match, and Alberto Del Rio is nowhere to be seen, and you're booking John Cena in a match against Wade Barrett, repeating history from a year ago when Wade Barrett was actually in the main event at being hyped to become your WWE champion, which was something that never did happen. They're making Wade Barrett to look out to be a fool right now, and it's kind of weird. But the matches for me, I also enjoyed seeing Sheamus actually be booked in a tag team match with John Cena. The first time we would see John Cena and Sheamus actually do some tag team work together against Mark Henry and Christian. You would have thought we would have seen Mark Henry and Alberto Del Rio on the Raw Super Show team up, and I would assume that's where Christian came into this. He actually replaced Alberto Del Rio in the match that Alberto Del Rio was supposed to have been in on the Raw Super Show, but where Alberto Del Rio was, I have no idea. If you know where Alberto Del Rio was, you can let us know at Facebook or Twitter at Facebook.com Jonathan Clarke, or Twitter.com Jonathan Clarke, or HEW Entertainment. One of those hashtags will work for you. It's kind of strange. As I said, I'm going to be throwing up the contract signing between CM Punk and Triple H for you to take a look at, and I'll throw some videos up from the Super Show on our Twitter account when I get a chance. But it was kind of weird how Alberto Del Rio wasn't there. The cage match was great, a phenomenal match. The Dolph Ziggler-Randy Orton match was great. The Miz-CM Punk match was great. I have no idea where The Miz fits in there. They do a number on CM Punk at the end of the match, but The Miz now doing these promos are absolutely pointless. It seems like The Miz has no place being in these matches. He's just kind of there to say, hey, I'm still around. I main evented WrestleMania. Here's the problem I have with The Miz. He main events WrestleMania, and now he's doing these Subway promos with the Subway guy, Jared. It's kind of pointless. It really is. Here's the problem I have. The Miz main events WrestleMania. He wins the main event at WrestleMania with John Cena, and now he's just doing these Subway commercials basically during Raw, or hyping up something that's absolutely stupid, and he's just kind of there saying, hey, I'm still here, give me a championship match, which is not going to surface. The Miz and R-Truth would make a good tag team if they were in the main event picture, but they're not. And they give the main event match to John Cena and Sheamus. Where does Sheamus fit in with all this? Shouldn't he be a top contender for the WWE or world title now? That's where I see Sheamus probably fitting in, probably challenging Randy Orton after his program is finished right now. He works a match against the Great Khali at the SmackDown Super Show and gets a disqualification victory after some involvement with Jinder Mahal. But I think that Sheamus's placing at the Super Show on Raw was great, but on SmackDown you put him in the main event on Raw, and then you take him into the main event, and then you make him work a match against the Great Khali, a match that was originally supposed to feature CM Punk. So you have Sheamus take CM Punk's place when you should be having Sheamus at least go for the world title. A lot of things didn't make sense to me at the Super Shows, but I thought there was a lot of energy. And one thing that the fans should take note of too, and that you should take note of if you're listening to this either on our radio form, on our official website, or on our YouTube channel, is the fact that you had less matches. You only had about 4 matches on these Super Shows, and the matches were longer. And that's something that I took note of, the fact that the matches were longer and not as short on just a split-branded show, Raw or SmackDown. The matches were longer. The Divas matches weren't that long, but the Dolph Ziggler-Randy Orton match went 2 commercial breaks. The Miz-CM Punk match, I believe that match went 2 commercial breaks as well. So the matches were a lot longer than they would have been on just a Raw or a SmackDown show featuring just the Raw or the SmackDown roster. And I wonder too why, they're all of a sudden killing the draft, and there's no point, having split-branded matches anymore. Why are they killing the draft now all of a sudden? I wonder too if they're going to be moving SmackDown to Tuesday nights from Friday to Tuesday. Maybe that's what they're hyping up and getting ready to do, move SmackDown from Friday to Tuesday and make it a live show. But then something you have to take into consideration too is the fact that it takes a lot of money and a lot of time to do 2 live shows a week. Now, I know that WWE are financially stable enough to have 2 live shows, but maybe it's too soon for SmackDown to be moving to a live spot on Tuesday nights. I know that Raw and SmackDown are quickly becoming the longest running episodic shows on television. I believe 2 shows now are ahead of them. SmackDown is moving up there. Raw is the number 1, the longest running episodic show in history, and I know SmackDown is moving up there. I think